Whatever they say to you about being an open, honest community, it seems to me that nearly everything is controversial, and I wondered what it was like for women actually wearing trousers, because there's this big thing about transsexual at the moment. It'd be easier on YouTube if I was one of those, I think, because then I wouldn't get harassed like I do for talking about other things. But it was obviously quite a controversial thing, or it seems, because France, until recently, it was kind of against the law to wear trousers, and some religions don't like it. But it seems to me, when I looked up history yet again, that when it came to trousers, men and women were wearing them alike. So it wasn't seemed that when a woman put a pair of trousers on, that they were masculine. And then of course there's a little bit of a video in here about this lady explaining that they couldn't wear dresses and things like that when they were doing jobs in the First and Second World War. I suppose if you were making bombs and that, and you've got a big flowy dress, it's not going to work, is it? So she was saying in her history, she couldn't see that women were wearing trousers all the time, but they would wear them for specific things, obviously working on farms or working. But when I looked at some of the trousers, I think they tried to make women look like men, because none of the fashions are particularly feminine. I mean, they've got the 1920s, but obviously it's a little bit before that, because the First World War was before that. It was 1918, wasn't it? So women must have been wearing trousers then. But they say that women started wearing trousers in the 1850s, but why not say that they wore them alike? I find this really incredible that when you go to look it up that it was alike, but I just want to show you some trousers. They just don't look that feminine. And there's a little bit of footage on here about Marlene Dietrich being in Paris and there being problems. I mean, she looks more like Johnny Depp there, to be honest. I don't know, does that face look, I just don't know, but anyway, they're saying, I mean, what has she got in her trousers? It looks freaking big just here, whatever. It's probably her hand, but look at the size of it. So, I don't know, that looks quite big, but maybe that's because they're trying to make it into a statement. But I don't particularly think that's particularly feminine, do you? Another one here. Does she look particularly feminine in that suit there? She looks like a man to me. Obviously that one says the 1940s, but do women look particularly feminine? I mean, they look like man's trousers, don't they? These things weren't actually called knickerbocker, yeah. But anyway, more to do with knickers, the knicker sport. So these weren't trousers, but they are, aren't they? They're just short trousers, knee-length trousers. And of course a lot of men wore them as well, didn't they? So do those girls look very feminine? I thought the two on the left looked like boys, to be honest. Or maybe even all three of them looked like boys in that picture. So before that, women were wearing knickers until the 20s. You know, even that one, I just think they look like women wearing men's trousers. Anyway, we're going to play this video now with a few more pictures and a couple of little people talking and saying things. So let's continue with the video. But again, what's your thoughts? Because, you know, all the things that they go on about, you know, people are still fighting today for the rights to wear trousers. France only let go of it in about 2013. Oh, sorry, I'm getting some messages here. And you imagine women going out in trousers. People, you know, especially if you had to, you know, everybody was wearing quite long dresses, and then they saw a woman in trousers. And they don't really go on about that now, the big change for women as they were wearing trousers. But history says they were wearing them together. So it's all a bit bananas as usual, because, you know, it is, isn't it? It's bananas. Anyway, let's carry on with the video.
Marlene Dietrich is detained at a train station in Paris for violating a ban on women wearing pants, 1933. Frida Kahlo poses for a family portrait in her iconic three-piece suit and cane, Mexico, 1924.
It's a clothing item many of us likely take for granted, but just over 100 years ago, women were officially allowed to wear something besides a skirt or a dress. WRTV sat down with the Indiana Historical Society for this story.
Just by looking at our collections, you just don't see a lot of women wearing pants. The question becomes, is that more of a social norm? Is it more of a legality? In 1923, the Attorney General stated that it was okay.
This video so far has concentrated on women, and then I remembered that men, they had kilts, didn't they? And other cultures have had skirts. Even other centuries have been wearing skirts. Was there a big hoo-ha about men wearing skirts? Do you remember a big hoo-ha? They said the only reason they didn't wear the skirts anymore altogether really was because they were more thin looking. But they were wearing them in the 1800s. So what does that mean then? Because that's when trousers came in and women were wearing them at the same time as men. There you go, seen as feminine. They even wore socks. Of course, the Middle Ages. And up until the 1800s. Kilts. Whatever. Dress, so yeah. Don't know about that, but we forget that men have been wearing skirts. The big hoo-ha for them changing at the same time as for women having trousers. They had them at the same time. Do you believe they only came in the 1800s? I don't know. Not many show us men wearing you know, they're wearing trousers and things when they're pirates and everything, aren't they? But many cultures have skirts. Even that little kid there has got a kilt on.
for women to wear pants in public. Though that statement was made, it wasn't really a ruling, it wasn't really a law that was put into effect. And so really women tended to even stay away from it after that and just wear it in certain situations. Women's activism, when it came to especially voting rights and women's rights and equality, that was really the spark. Those are the types of activists that were being arrested for wearing men's clothes or wearing pants. They would wear them as disguise when they were traveling so that they could feel more secure and be less of a target. There were several women that dressed as men and fought in the Civil War. And once you hit World War I, once you hit World War II, women are in the workplace. They can't be wearing a flowy dress while working heavy machinery. So they were given the ability to wear coveralls, overalls, pants. And so we've got some images of women working during World War II for the American Red Cross at the service center. They're wearing pants or rolled up pants in their work. But then when you look at the images of them socializing with the soldiers at the Servicemen's Center, they're wearing their dresses again. So it was very, very situational. You wouldn't have seen a lot of women just wearing pants all of the time. They would have been wearing them for certain activities. You get into the 70s and you've got the Equal Rights Amendment and the fight for the Equal Rights Amendment, and you have more focus on women's rights, and organizations like the National Organization of Women are forming, and it's hard to know when the actual legality changed on it. You still had schools up into the 70s that required girls to wear skirts or dresses. There were towns that would have had prohibitions that weren't, or states that had prohibitions against women wearing pants. The question is, was it enforced? A woman was wearing pants in this ad for Ellis Ayres, and it says brunch pajamas. They were brunch pajamas. And so then I used that term, and I found out that beach pajamas were a thing in the 20s and 30s. And so they're very kind of loose flowing pants that you wore to the beach. And I'm sure they were breezy and cool and more comfortable. I think they got around that fashion-wise in ads like the Ellis Ayres ads and things. They were very flowy pants, and you know, they almost looked like a long skirt. So it's just really interesting and really fascinating to look through the different time period. And of course, you can't talk about women in pants in that era without talking about Amelia Earhart. You know, she even designed her own clothing line at one point. But she was a pilot. She's not, you know, you would see her in a dress at some events, but when you would see her in her pilot's gear, she was generally wearing pants. There are still countries that are dealing with this issue and trying to change the way that women's rights are. So depending on where you're at, this is still an issue. So I think a lot of times it was a municipal or a statewide as opposed to a federal law to do so. But there were definitely women that were more apt to flout the law or more apt to just be themselves.